We're here on a beautiful spring day in the mountains above Lake Maggiore here in northern Italy. Perfect day, perfect location to shoot the car that I've got. It's another rare car, but it's not like vlog number 3 with the De Sanctis, a tiny manufacturer that barely anyone had heard of. This is a famous manufacturer, a famous brand. It's another Alfa Romeo that I'm shooting. The thing is here, there's a story to it, and these are my favorite cars to shoot. When there's a story, there's something to help you take that trip back in time. This is a car that was built in 1951, and Alfa built it for a very specific reason. The Italian military recognized the success of one car in the war, the Willys MB, the original Jeep. It had a well-deserved reputation, and the Italians wanted an answer, and they turned to Alfa Romeo because they were, at the time, they were absolutely at the top. If you could pick from your manufacturers, Alfa would seem like a good choice, but not an obvious choice, because actually they were famous producing sports cars at the time. And this is the thing, in the 50s, Alfa Romeo built a Jeep. This is the Matta. It means mad in Italian. And it got that name because this car can go just about anywhere, as we've been seeing today here in the woods. Now, the owner of this fantastic example has told me a lot about the car. It's such an interesting story. The car was made in '51, ran in military service for the army for 20 years, switched on to civilian plates, and then in 1985, Francesco here, he bought this fantastic car, and it's been in his family until now. And when we first met, he told a story about the fact that he was in terrain like this. He has a tractor that was towing a pretty heavy payload, about 3.5 ton. Tractor got stuck, and straight away Francesco ran, got the Matta out of the garage, connected a tow rope to the front of the tractor and hauled that thing out of there. So it's fair to say he's been using the car as it was designed. He initially bought this because he needed a workhorse, he needed a Jeep, and his friend was selling it, and he had no idea that it was an Alfa Romeo in the beginning. He was after a workhorse and has kept it in his family for 3 decades now. This is chassis number 100, 100th Matta they ever built. And that is 100 out of 165 units that were built specifically for the army. A little over 2,000 cars built in total, and there's a reason for the short production run. See, Alfa built incredible sports cars, but usually in limited runs, usually very high-end things. Going forward, they knew that they needed to get into mass production if they were going to remain profitable in the long term. And the Matta, this Jeep, was going to be one of their first ever. Here's the thing though. They went a little overboard. A little Alfa Romeo. The engine is a 1.9 litre inline 4, and it's a twin overhead cam. The competition had nothing like it. Not even a single overhead cam. Although it was a fantastic engine, which put out 100 horsepower in sports car tune, here they detuned it to 65 horsepower, and with the low ratio gearbox, it was more than capable. But it was a little more expensive than the army would like. Fiat came along with their expertise in mass production, produced a Jeep with simpler running gear. Not such a fancy engine, simpler internals, and the big thing was this added up to cost 20% less than the Alfa Romeo. And that made the difference. That made all the difference. When buying in bulk, as the military were, they were forced to go with Fiat, and as soon as Alfa lost that military contract, obviously the Matta production line ground to a halt. Yeah, that's better. Top off looks very good, and it gives me a little bit more headroom, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate being at the wheel of this thing. I actually drive a small green Italian 4x4 myself in the Panda. But Panda's a lot more modern, obviously. And it's a lot lighter too. This is 1,250 kilos, so a good 25% on what I'm normally driving. And I'm curious to see if that weight shows up. From what I've seen on the limited amount of footage on YouTube, it drives like a bit of a tank. And Francesco took me on the road to show me what it's like on tarmac, and even there it's rattling and clanking and grumbling along and full of character, but I'm dying to see what it's like with the top off. Just having this 360 view, it's new to me, and it's getting me excited. So let's see if we can turn this thing on. Beautiful. Let's go. Yeah, it's definitely a little bumpy. But that visibility, that's something I like. I could get used to this. So Francesco recommended that the low ratio gearbox is really for when you're in some pretty terrible conditions. We're in the normal high range box at the moment in second gear, and it's crawling along at 10 kilometers an hour, easy as you like. Now we're going to take it down a little path here. It is so nice and easy to place. It's kind of an amazing experience. Just eats up the bumps. For sure, this is pretty easy terrain, but still a hell of a lot of fun. So, end of the day, end of the shoot, and it's been a good one. I hope I've got some great shots. We've been messing with this thing, taking the top off, messing around with the windshield. We've even jammed out the incredibly cute indicators that aren't functioning at the moment. I think we've covered this thing pretty well, and that, you know, that's obviously the goal of today. Because when I was looking for information on this car, good high quality shots, good high quality video, not a lot out there, and that's down to its rarity and its age, obviously. Hope you enjoyed it. The full shoot, as always, will be on the blog. That's thewholecar.com, and I'll link it in the description below when it's up. All right, thanks for joining us. See ya.